Okay, what did we learn yesterday? Here the Rebbe is this is a speech that Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991. And the Rebbe is stressing one aspect of the menorah that the Kohen, in this case it was Aaron a Kohen, lit in the Holy Temple. After that, it didn't have to be the Kohen Gadol. Any Kohen could have lit the menorah. Okay, so and what is he in the Lukuti Torah we just learned before we talked about the fact that it was gold and what that means to us. We said the fear of God and how it's one, and that means how the Jewish people are one, and how it's pounded out that the top goes down to the bottom goes down to the top, like we just finished explaining. But here the Rebbe is talking about a different thing, a different aspect, and that is that the Kohen has to light the menorah until the flame goes up on its own. So the Rebbe says, what does this mean? The flame is every Jewish soul. And the purpose of this flame is to illuminate the whole world. But it has to go up on its own. And what does it mean going up on its own? That you feel self-motivated, you want to call it, you feel the truth. You feel the truth. And like I said yesterday, there's ample examples of this, unfortunately, in the most tragic situations. We see the Jews have been murdered and killed and raped and you say expelled from countries and tortured and and the scoffed at and excluded, etc. Since the beginning of the Jewish people, since the beginning of Abraham. That's what the word Ivri means. Abraham or Ivri. Ivri means the other side. It says the whole world is on one side and Abraham was on the other side. And, about 300 years ago, there stood up movements in Judaism. I mean, Judaism is like 3,000, since the time of Abraham, it's 4,000 years old. But since the Torah was given, 3,300 plus years, right? So all this time, the Jews have been holding on. About 300 years ago, all of a sudden popped up a bunch of Jews, and they said, hey, fellas, I mean, we're such fools. The answer is so simple. How we get rid of this anti-Semitism? Let's just be like everybody else and stop this Judaism business, right? And that didn't go over so good. So they said, okay, listen, we'll do it like this. We'll be a Jew in your home and a man when you go out in the streets. Yehudi bebeitecha v'adam b'tzeitecha. You'll be out person. There was Moses Mendelssohn and these other people. And people said, oh, this is a good idea. Here we got a good idea. We're going to be, how do you call it? Protestants. Like the Protestants, they protested against the church. We're going to be Protestant Jews. We're going to be, how do you say, normalized Jews. And from that came the whole reform movement in Germany and etc. Okay. So all of a sudden, it didn't work too well. A lot of Jews intermarried. There was intermarriages. A lot of Jews were lost. But there were still Jews that stubbornly held on to Judaism despite all of the hatred and despite all the difficulties and despite all of this. So you can say, okay, these guys were religious fanatics. What do you want? They were doing it because they figured, well, something this world will go in the next world. But that wasn't the reason. That was not at all their motivation. If you looked at what they read, I'm just want to mute some people here. Here we go. Okay. And so if you look and see, their motivation was not that at all. In fact, they didn't really know what their motivation was. Their motivation was, I'm a Jew. A Jew can't stop being a Jew. Why not? Why can't you stop being here? All these other people did it, right? All these other people, they intermarried. Why don't you do it? I don't know. But I just can't. A Jew, I can't. And even these people that left Judaism, when they were put against the wall, they said, no, I'm a Jew. And they were proud to be Jews. They were not. They were atheistic Jews and they were communist Jews, but they were Jews. Right? Like I told you, Trotsky was a murderer, a terrible person. He said that they interviewed him, and he was like one of the big fathers of the Communist Party. Who knows how many, the Red Army, he was the head of the Red Army. He said, I'm a Jew, religion, I'm not religious, nothing. Then I'm not against that. He said, I guess you have to say, I'm Jewish, he said, but I guess you have to say that I'm an atheistic Jew. He spoke like 15 languages or something. Jew, they can't leave being a Jew. And he says, no, what is this thing of being a Jew? It's a certainty without any doubt that God exists, that God is good, that God gave the Torah. God took us out of Egypt, a certainty. No doubt. How are you so certain? Why? I don't know. Well, let's see how certain you are, right? You deny your Judaism, we're going to kill you. Okay, will you deny? Sure, what's the question? Okay, deny your Judaism. Shema Yisrael, I think maybe you think we're not serious. Here, tie him up to the stake, put these little pieces of wood underneath his feet, and we'll light it. Here we got gasoline, pouring gasoline all over you. Just say I'm not a Jew, and we'll let you go. If not, I light the match. Sure, what's the problem? I'm not. Shema Yisrael. And there were Jews that also said I'm not Jewish. What is this thing? What lit up inside of them? What did they get out of it? Why? So the answer is nothing. It's totally not understandable, but it's the truth. They got the truth, right? At least they weren't like everybody else. That everyone else was living a lie. They're going to live the truth even for 1 second. 1 second of truth is worth more than 1 billion years of a lie. 1 second of truth. Says, but you can feel this not just when you're tied up to the stake and you're going to die. The Rebbe wants us to feel this every second because it's the truth and it'll make everybody happy. Everybody in the world will be happy. I mean, I just want to throw this thing in. There's people that write me comments. So this lady, once in a while, she writes me comments about, JC, that I'm going to be punished and I'm going to go to hell and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to hell because I'm denying this and then I'm going to get punished under this. And then I'm going to really be miserable under this. So I wrote her back and I said, listen, when Moshiach comes, then you are going to be really happy. And you're going to be, for the first time in your life, you're going to be really filled with joy and appreciate life. Right? She figured that I'm going to write back, I'm going to burn in hell. You're going to burn in hell. Right? She said, no, what are you talking about? The fact is, the only reason you're saying these things is because you've somehow or other been lied to, and it's not your fault, right? You've been tricked. But the truth makes you happy. Makes you happy in this world. You're not thinking about heaven all the time. Heaven, hell, me, you, him, this. You don't believe you're going to step on a crack, you break your mother's back. We used to be in school. Okay, so when a person reveals what is the truth, so then he's got a big problem, and that is that it's very, how do you say, obligating. All of a sudden you have all these things you have to do and these things you can't do. It's forbidden to do. You can't do what you want. But on the other hand, if you look at seeing that this is because of the Creator, then you're even willing to, get burned at the stake for it. It's a tremendous joy and happiness that's worth more than all the things in the world. That's what it means, this flame that goes up constantly. Alder says also the same thing, the service of serving God, not just in Torah and in the commandments. That was what the Rebbe just finished explaining. And look at yesterday's class, you'll see what we're talking about. That you take the physical world and make it into godly. It says also not just you make it godly, you make the physical world godly by doing the commandments, but also, which that's really only relevant to the Jewish people, but also kol masecha, all of the deeds, everything you do of a Jew, you have to do for the sake of heaven. God's creating everything. And even more, in all of your ways, you should know Him. You should know God. Know means an intimate connection. I know, in addition to the fact that you do things for the sake of heaven. For instance, you eat in order that you'll have power in order to learn Torah and to do commandments and to do good deeds. But even more, osim is a gufa. You make from the food not just a means to another end to do good things, but the food itself becomes holy. Hechsher mitzvah, namely, not just the food that you eat or the clothes that you wear become a means for something else. That's good. That's doing everything for the name of a God, the sake of God. But it has to be that all of your ways, that they become de'eyu, they become connected to God. Not just that Jews should do this every time brand new, but exactly the opposite. Every davar harishut, these optional things that you do, eating, sleeping, right? You have to eat, but you don't have to eat. If you want to, you can fast. You want to, you can fast. You're not a mitzvah. Put tefillin, you have to put on, right? But you don't have to eat. You don't want to eat, don't eat. Everything that you do to put on clothes, you have to put on clothes. Okay, but you don't have to put on this type of clothes. You don't have to eat this type of food, right? Whatever you eat, whatever you do, it becomes holy. It arouses you to serve God. We can move on like it's understood. So, for instance, clothes you put on, modesty. Also, you become acceptable. Clothes aren't dirty. Clothes are doesn't have to be fancy that you put on what is George Armani underpants or something like that that cost $5,000. You don't, but you should dress nicely, right? You can move on, like it says with Pashtus, also by a child. Because, like I said before, the hora shalahavas olav mi'aleh, like we said, a child that automatically he feels godliness. Shahuva b'Perish Rashi, it says of this, is also, and every single Jew, also small children, that even small children automatically they feel and they know that God is creating them, that it's an obvious thing, that God is the creator, that God is good. Kasher kovim b'chedro, when you put in the house, in the room of a child, a chumash, a chumash, what is it? They call it a Pentateuch. In this we're learning it's a septateuch, right? With the 7 books. When you put a chumash in the child, the 5 books of Moses, you put there a siddur, a prayer book, kupa tzedakah, a charity box, etc. You have to put this in a place and in such a way that after you put it up, and it doesn't. The person that put it there doesn't need to fix it. When you put the charity box there, it should be that it's there permanently. The Rebbe said, you'll see, attach it to the wall. Even not even a child. It won't be that you'll have to remind him. As soon as he goes into the room, the chumash, the Torah book itself, it automatically calls to him and arouses him. She is that he should learn in it. Similarly, a siddur, also the prayer book, also a book, a charity box. Munach, it should be in such a place that it arouses him and draws him that he should learn in it or should put charity in the charity box. Excuse me. Alder says similarly it is in everything that you do in educating a child. Excuse me. Umizen and this movement, it's understood also regarding to optional things of older people. How much more so by means of doing the commandments, and that this is you have to do in such a way that the thing itself that you use becomes olam me'alel. It becomes a holy thing. There's a lot of people in Israel now that they put on their cars on the back window like a Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, or believe in God, or God is good, or trust in God, or be happy with the Creator. So they put a sticker on the back window. Love your neighbor as yourself. So the car itself becomes an advertisement that this is a Jewish person that believes in God is driving the car. The things in the world, they become elevated on their own. There used to be that used to remind a Jew that he has to serve God. There was a very wonderful person in Kfar Chabad, and there's a lot of wonderful people in Kfar Chabad, but his name was Rav Zusha Rivkin. Rav Zusha Rivkin. And he had a restaurant in Tel Aviv. The restaurant it lost money. It lost money. He couldn't really make ends meet in the restaurant. I guess he wasn't really such a businessman, but anyway, it ended up it was in such not a good place. But it was in a place where the children would go by. There was a school right nearby, and the children would go by, and he would call the children in. It was a non-religious school, and I don't know what it is nowadays, but it was a non-religious. It was a very, how do you say, that was their platform. That was part of the platform that was not religious. This is a normal school, right? Israeli, Zionist, advertising, atheism, whatever is close to communism. Anyway, school. The people, they don't even know anymore that this is generations after generations. The first generation of Zionists, when they came here, a lot of them were communists, and they thought that they would make in the kibbutz communism, and the kibbutz where the communism and everything was common, and the children were common, and the whole thing was just a total failure. And there's none left anymore. There's none of these communist kibbutzim left. But there's still the schools and the education, but these are not people that have the same fervor as the original ones. These are like grandchildren, the principals of these schools. Anyway, not important. The children would come by, they would come by his restaurant, and he would invite them in, and they would say Shema Yisrael. Just to say Shema Yisrael, I don't know Eloheinu, I don't know, just to say Shema Yisrael. He would put a kippah on them. He would give them coins and a charity box. And he would give them candies, tell them to make a blessing on the candy. And the kids would come in by the hundreds. By the hundreds, they would stand in line. And they would give them a candy, they would make a blessing on the candy. They didn't know what a blessing was. He would tell them to make a blessing. They would put kippahs on their heads. Of course, they would do anything for a candy. And he would give them a coin, whatever that coin, a shekel or something. And every child, he would give a charity box. And they say, okay, this coin is yours. Put it in the charity box. And the kids didn't have to put it in the charity. They could keep it for themselves. They put it in the charity box. They said, Shema Yisrael, right? So he used his store not just for holiness, the store itself became holy, right? The store itself that's the place where they say Shema Yisrael is. He used to go in the train, in the Israeli train, and he had one handful of a little bag of coins, and another in the other hand he had a charity box, and he would tell people, take a coin, the coin is yours, now give charity. And people would give charity one after the other. Encourage people to give charity. Who knows how much good, right? How much he saved the Jewish people. Who knows? How much good that is. Okay, so that's what he's saying, that not only do you use the world for good, for God, but the world itself becomes godly, it becomes good. Right? Just like his candies became good, and his restaurant became good, and became godly. Okay. According to what we said before, now we can understand what it says. Now we're going back to our original topic. Remember what our original topic was? According to the Gemara in Brachot, there's 7 books of Moses. 7 books of Moses. And the book of Numbers is divided into 3 books. And that division, that dividing line happens in this week's Torah portion. There's 2 sentences in our Torah portion that are right in the middle of our Torah portion, that is considered to be, according to that opinion, a book in itself. A book in itself. And up to that portion, that's the first book of Numbers. This is the second book of Numbers. And from here to the end of the book of Numbers, that's the third book of Numbers. So it adds 2 more books to the 5 books of the Torah. Yeah, okay. So the Rebbe asked the question, good, you want to say that, let's say it. But the problem with it is that this third book of Numbers, right, after these 2 sentences, it starts off with a bad thing, and it deals almost totally with bad things. How does it start off? That's what we learned about just now in the Lakuti Torah. The people were complaining. The people were complaining. That's how it starts off. Now, usually you don't start off with a bad thing. And he said even more, all these 3 words are bad. Vayehi is a bad thing. So anything, anytime it says Vayehi, it means it's bad. Ha'am, it says that's the lowest of the people. Those were the mixed multitude, whatever. Ma'onenin means that they were complaining. These things are bad. This, you're going to start the 6th book of the Torah with it, from the 7 books of the Torah. Why? It says, Atochen, this Torah portion is called lighting the lights. Lighting, it says going up. The lights, the flames should go up on their own. That the work of a Jew has to be in a way that he inspires himself from the truth, the chelko ba'olam, and whatever he has in the world, and all of the world with the light of the commandments and with the lamp of the commandments and the light of the Torah. Ad ba'ofen in such a way that shall have it. There should be the flame should go up on its own. In other words, your enthusiasm should be autonomous. It should be from yourself, from the truth, from your own soul. You don't have to be inspired by anybody else. But also, right? Even if you're alone, even if everyone's against you, even if it, God forbid, is the threat of your life, but nevertheless, the truth, you can't leave it. You're happy to be attached to the truth. That's what it's supposed to be. That even now the idea is not to get killed, but exactly the opposite, to influence others so that they won't want to kill anybody. Right? The true idea was supposed to be what these people, and that's what it's going to be. Right? The church tied these people up to the stake and said, either believe in us or we'll burn you. And the people screamed out Shema Yisrael. And the people in the Inquisition should have taken off their big pointed hats or whatever it is and throw it on the ground and say, man, this whole business is a bunch of lies. Look at this person. He's attached to the truth. What am I attached to? Right? I'm attached to just peer pressure and doing what everybody else says. And this whole business is a lie. I'm throwing it away. I'm only believing in God. And everybody said, that's what we're going to do also. Right? We're going to only believe in the God, only in the Creator, and forget about this, all these religious stuff and this heaven and hell and stuff. We're believing only in the Creator of the universe. We're going to do the 7 Noahide commandments. That's what should have happened back then. That's what it should have happened. Instead of burning these people in the Inquisition and the Crusades and everything like that, it should have been the Inquisitors and the Crusaders should have said, man, what are we doing? We're making a big mistake. This is a big lie. Let's worship the Creator of the universe. He's creating me. He's enlivening me. Right? That's nothing closer than that. Then everyone will be a flame that goes up on its own. You don't have to get it from a book. The book is explaining what's going on inside of you. You're important. You're a creation of God. You have potential that only you can bring out. The flame goes up on its own. That's what it means. That the whole existence of a person on its own, that usually conceals over the light of the soul, will be shalahavet, that even his body will be like a flame, a ner mitzvah. It'll be like a lamp for the light of the Torah, illuminating the world. Similarly, also, it'll affect not just your body, but also the whole world by means of what? Doing things, physical things in the world, and spread it to physical things and transforming them into holiness. Like I said with this Zusha Rivkin, right? He transformed candies and money and his restaurant into a holy temple, into holy things that you saw godliness. From this is understood that the true service of God is when that you elevate, you lift up these flames until the flame goes up on its own. This will permeate every prate adam, every detail of a person, we'll call prate olam, and every detail of the world. From the highest of highest things until the lowest of the low. Even since Shabbat of this whole service of the often ma'ali mi'aleha, the service of that the light goes up on its own. Hu hari evan abochin. This is the, how do you say, the testing stone, such a word like that. This is the litmus test. That you're serving God truly, the emet, and the ultimate truth, gam mitzad mitziot adam, also from the person, mitziot olam, and from the world. Lo rak mitzad koach, not from the upper power, but from some upper power or some other reason. And therefore, I already said, so I'm just reminded that, you might think you could find other examples. Once in a while, I think they found the last one. Once in a while, they find Japanese soldiers on these islands. They don't know that the war ended. Japanese soldiers. And these guys are like already, 80 years old, 90 years old. How old are they? The war ended, 70 years ago, the war ended. And so these people must be like 9 years. I think they found the last one 5 years ago. Anyway, they're very old, but they really truly believe that the war is still going on. And, they're loyal and they're this. And and somebody has to come, especially if it's somebody from their old platoon or something like that, and say, listen, my friend, the war is over. Here, I mean, waves a white flag. I'm a Japanese. Oh, I remember you. You were my commander. You were my this. Yes, war's over. We lost, guy. We lost 70. What? 70 years ago? Really? We lost? And that's it. Come out of the jungle, and okay, I'll come out. Jungle. I got so they stop. Right? They stop. They stop they stop the. So there's also some people. There's what's called a Amalek. Amalek is an evil race. I guess maybe nowadays you can apply that to the. There's still some Nazis. Maybe the communists today could be. I mean, communism is raising its evil head all over the place. Maybe I don't know. I don't know exactly. I really didn't think about that too much. But anyway, the fact is Judaism is the only truth that it can't be knocked down, right? They came to this person and said, the emperor of Japan died. We lost the war. Okay, so I'll stop being a soldier. Somebody comes and says, hey, you know what? God doesn't exist. The Jews left. There's no more Jews anymore. The person will say, oh, I don't care. You can say whatever you want to. I know that God exists. I don't care. I'm very sad that Jewish people don't exist, but that doesn't stop me from worshiping God. Right? Doesn't I'll get burned on the stake? I know the truth. The truth is the truth. What's the truth? You can't do it just because whatever. We lost this guy, Japan. He lost the war, so he stopped being what he has been. Like I say, there are people though on the other side. That's what says Zelum said. There are people that are devoted to destruction. And those people are devoted to destruction. As long as there's anything positive, they'll be against it. That's really the inner core of anti-Semitism. Because to this day, nobody can explain why there's anti-Semitism. No one can explain why the Germans hated the Jews so much. Why do they target the Jews especially, right? They went all over the world. So they had a plan. They say that they found a globe in Hitler's study, and it had numbers on it on each country, the number of Jews in each country. I heard this from several places. The number, he had a plan. He wanted to kill all of the Jews in the whole world. That was his idea. Why? What has he got against the Jews? Why? So that explains the reason why. Because just as the Jews are totally devoted to the truth, and it's a flame that goes up, they're totally devoted to death and destruction. That's basically what this woke movement is. Eventually, it'll turn into anti-Semitism. It's beginning now. It'll wake up the Jews at least. And therefore, Hari said, therefore, this good has to permeate into every single detail of a person's life. How did I got around to this negative stuff? I don't know. Why do I do this? Okay. Until the lowest. It'll come down to even the lowest of the low. Arab, exactly about more. Not that these bad things they shouldn't be here. No, by means of these bad things, the lowest, they will be elevated the highest. Harizem more, this shows on the complete truth of the oneness of elevating on your own, of being really autonomous, that you're really connected to the truth, regardless who else is. And where do you see this? When it's in a bad situation, when there's something opposite. This shows that a person al zeh, that's what al derech, like it says, if you want to lift up a building, so you put the jack or whatever it is under the lowest of the lowest parts of the building, only by means of this can you elevate the whole entire building. So according to this, Al Pizen, now we can understand why this commandment of elevating, lifting up the lights, in other words, lighting the flames on the menorah, and they have to go on their own, was said to Aaron Kohen Gadol. Right, since that the whole thing of Aaron was, like it says, you have to be one of the pupils of Aaron. You have to love the creations. It says you have to love every single Jew, eventually every single person, even if he's got only one good, lovable quality, and that is that God created him. Everything else he's misusing and he's bad. You have to love the creations and bring them close to the Torah. Here he's especially talking about the Jews. Yesh lo ahava, he has love, but even to the people who are far away from Torah and serving God, therefore is called Briot Ba'olam. These people are called, they're so far away from God. The only thing you can say about them is that God created them. And he's creating them now. That's the only good quality that they have. They're created by God. And what do you have to do? You have to bring them to the Torah. Who Makarev, he brings all of the creations that are found in the lowest levels, and he has to bring them to the Torah, which is the highest levels. That's what we just finished learning in Likkutei Torah, in Likkutei Torah. From the lowest, from the Yerecha, from the lowest level of the of the menorah is really connected to the top. In a way that it Makarev Otam, that he has to bring the Makarev, he has to bring them close to the Torah. In other words, take the lowest of the low. And that's the whole thing of the metonanim. Why this complainers were in this week's Torah portion, to show that the whole idea of lighting up the candles, how do you see if you're really lighting it up on its own? If you can even include the lowest of the low people. There was a case, by the way, I think I read this a few years ago, that there was like one of the heads of a Nazi party in Austria. Now, or in the city, whatever, the branch of the neo-Nazis, he discovered somehow or other that he was Jewish. His mother told him he was Jewish. And he started thinking about it, and he realized that he had made a big mistake in his life. Suddenly he realized, why do I hate the Jews? What are the Jews anyway? And what does it mean that I am a Jew? What does that mean? I mean, if Nazism is true, so it's true across the board. What difference does it make if I am a Jew or not? I should hate the Jews, but just because they call me a Jew. If Jews are bad, so okay, I should hate myself. There's a lot of self-hating Jews. There's no lack of them. Like, but Nazi Jews, you don't really find them. Why not? Because the whole purpose of the Nazis is to destroy the Jews, and my whole purpose is to destroy myself. And what is a Jew anyway? What happened? And this person, he changed around. He became religious. I think he even had a big tattoo of a swastika on his chest or something like that. That's a bummer of a and you couldn't make it like into a window, close the ends because you're not allowed to make a stand. What he did with that, I don't know. Anyway, he figured it out. Okay, fine. This is drawn down also into the world, the Heyer Gam, that you can elevate even the lowest parts of the world. That even the lowest parts of the world, even they also become elevated. And that's the whole idea of these people, why the people complaining, this low thing, these three things are in this week's Torah portion to say that we have to elevate that also. So that it'll be a flame that goes up on its own. Okay, we did this. We started the class a little bit late today, but it's really sort of going over time lately.